Hey friends, how are you? Welcome to another episode of our podcast, where, as always, we are here to bring you topics you love and keep you as entertained as possible with stories and anecdotes that never cease to amaze us. Today in our episode, we will analyze a letter because we're going to dive into another of the letters that Pocha sent to his compadre, the Licenciado, while he was locked up. I think it's interesting to do these analyses just like last time when we examined another letter and deciphered every word, every phrase, to understand what Pocha was really trying to say. Well, today won't be different, but we'll delve even deeper. By the end of this episode, we want to make sure there is no doubt about what is written between the lines and about what this letter reveals to us. But before getting into the details, let me tell you a bit about how these letters reached to El Licenciado. They were always handed to him personally by Pocha's lawyer, Mr. Oscar Manuel. So the communication or messages were through three channels. One was through letters, another through the lawyer, and the other through the wife of the Pocha. That's how the connection with the outside world was maintained, in this case with his compadre Licenciado. Every word, every line of this letter is loaded with hidden messages, and of course those hints that only those who know Pocha well can understand. So now, let's do the following. First, I'm going to read the entire letter to you so you can hear it exactly as it was written, without interruptions. To give you an idea, after reading it, we will go through it step by step, so you understand not just what it says, but what it really means. Because you know, in this world, words are never just words. Get ready because this episode is going to be full of revelations. We will try to understand Pocha's intentions and discover what he really wanted to communicate to his compadre. What secrets are hidden between the lines? What messages did he want to send without saying them directly? Okay, so stay with us until the end. Without further ado, let's get to reading the letter. Then we'll get down to analyzing it properly. Here, I'll show you the image of the letter and read it to you as we go. Well, so the letter says this. To my compadre Lick, I write this letter with great pleasure. I hope that when you receive it, you and your family are well. These are all my best wishes. I'm doing well here, thank God. I've been good. I haven't gotten sick. The weather is nice. It's not cold. I'll tell you, a few days ago my friend visited me and told me that the Güeros have already mentioned who the intellectuals are, but that's all they said. They haven't mentioned anything else. They haven't said who is responsible for poisoning the Bravo and the Tigre. My friend is keeping an eye out, and as soon as someone mentions who it is, he'll visit me to let me know. What he did mention to me is that they were poisoning close people, like it worked well with the Bravo, and we already know that the Güeros ones are experts at confusing people. Please make sure you and my children talk about what you hear and don't take people's comments too seriously. We already know that without snitches, they will never do anything. There are two things that need to be looked at. No one should know where you sleep, and not going to public places, and nothing will ever happen. The Lick told me what you mentioned about Renee. Keep a secretary with the people from the company because they can complicate things, as others don't know where you see them, and those who notice are clueless about where they leave. The danger is the people from the company because they are the ones who know about you and can expose you. You five can discuss what I just mentioned. And as I tell you, without a snitch they never catch anyone, and the snitch is always someone close. On the other hand, I really need you to watch what Polito is seeing, compadre. We have to catch those people. And if the Polito people do nothing, recommend other collectors, because that chef and caballero took a ton that belongs to the five, Cocina and me and the rest, and I invested everything I sent to Canada from the Enrique brothers. They bought everything with all that money, more than 3, and those pair of rascals kept everything. Mr. Caballero, Panchito's secretary, knows how to reach him. I had seen Panchito, and he told me that his secretary knows him. And Lick. Oscar already said that through Panchito's assistant, they would talk to the secretary. Speaking of Panchito J's brother, my friend tells me he talking a lot. Tells me that he got Panchito tangled up with us and has him really confused. He says that when Panchito gets there, he should plead guilty and say whatever the lawyer tells him to say. And with these statements from Panchito, the matter of the two of them is settled. I spoke with Panchito, and he tells me he's desperate to leave. I told him he is in the wrong. But I know he'll do whatever Jay tells him. He told me he won't say anything, but I know he'll spill everything once he gets there. On the other hand, I need you to give the bi-weekly payment to Ricon's wife and send the secretary to encourage him. Tell Licenciado Oscar to be in contact with the lawyer over there and make sure that Ricon's wife communicates with the LIC. I will also be informing LIC Oscar. Please hurry, Cleto. I'll be sending messages with the lady, and you can send me anything through her, too. And about the 3 intellectuals, take it easy. My friend says the gringos already took that campaign away from them. They brought... Sorry, it's a conspiracy. We already know about those 3, but there are more. H is also involved with Enrique and the other 2. We will find out later. Nothing stays hidden. I'm telling you, there's someone who will help us a lot. I already told the women who it is. Compadre, say hi to Pollito from me and ask him to help me collect from those 2, and also from Ricon. They are 3 scoundrels. The Frida I knew was resigned, he was serious. He resigned, and I came here. So they found it easy to steal things. There is the debt of Enrique's brothers and the partners issue. Hopefully they manage to recover that to pay and move forward. All right, compadre, sending you a hug. Greetings to my godchildren, my comadre, your daughter, my compadres, your brothers and sisters, your mom and your brothers. Your compadre who loves and appreciates you, JGL. All right, that was the letter. Now we'll proceed to decode and analyze it part by part. The letter says, "To my compadre Lick, I'm happy to write this letter. I hope it finds you well, you and your whole family that I wish the best. As for me, thank God I've been okay. I haven't been sick. The weather is great. It's not cold. It's very logical and clear. There's nothing difficult to understand." And he is telling the Licenciado that the weather in the Altiplano is fine. It wasn't cold. The letter. Let me tell you that a few days ago my friend visited me. He tells me that the Americans already mentioned who the masterminds are, but that's it. They haven't said anything else. They haven't said who was responsible for poisoning the Bravo and the Tiger. Here, Pocha refers to being visited by a friend of his, a high-ranking corrupt government official that Pocha had known since the years of President Carlos Salinas de Gortari's term, and that he was going to visit him many times in the Altiplano to pass on the information. I already told you the identity of this person in a previous episode. Well, this person told the Pocha that the Americans had already revealed who had been the intellectual authors behind the pressure on the Pocha. But they had only said that They had not said anything else. And they also mentioned that what they had not yet disclosed was the identity of the people in charge of poisoning the Bravo and the Tiger. By saying poison them, I mean he turned them against each other also. They convinced both of them to cooperate with the government. The Negro is actually the Bravo. That is Manuel Alejandro Aponte, the main bodyguard of Pocha, and the person who placed him in the Miramar building in the city of Mazatlan in 2014. And the Tiger, well, he was a commander in charge of a group of man-gun on behalf of Licenciado. Here, let me show you the pictures of the Black and the Tiger. The letter. My friend is keeping an eye out, so as soon as they mention who it is, he'll visit me to tell me who it is. What he did tell me is that they are poisoning close associates, just like they did with the Black guy, and we already know that the Güeros are experts at messing with people. Here, he obviously continues talking about his corrupt friend, and says he is on high alert, so that as soon as the Americans mention who was the person that directly convinced the Bravo to put the Pocha, he would go to the Altiplano to visit the Pocha and tell him who it was. He also mentioned that the gringos were poisoning people close to the leaders of the organization, like how their plan worked out with the Black guy. So they were doing the same thing with other people. And also Pocha told the Licenciado that they already knew Americans are experts at getting people entangled to make them collaborate. The letter. I'll ask you guys and my children to discuss what you hear and not take people's comments so seriously. Here, Pocha tells the Licenciado that he and his 4 sons, Ivan, Alfredo, Joaquin, and Ovidio, should share everything they hear among themselves and not take people's comments too seriously, implying that people will always try to poison them to create conflicts, because that's how this business always is. There will always be someone who talks badly about another person so that you get angry with them, so that you hate them, and in the end, things go wrong. So here, Pocha tells the Licenciado that they should always stay in touch and share everything they hear. The letter. We already know that without a snitch, they will never do anything. There are 2 things that need to be done. Only you should know where you sleep, and do not go to public places, and nothing will ever happen. Here, the Pocha tells Licenciado that they already know that the Americans without sapos, or as they like to say, the snitches or informants, without that they will never accomplish anything. He also, El Pocha, recommends, there are 2 things that must always be done. Only those who sleep there, meaning the targets, should know where they sleep, and no one else should know about it. And another thing is, don't go to public places, and by doing those 2 things, nothing will ever happen. Apparently, no one followed his advice. The letter. I spoke to the Licks, and he told me about Renee. Put a secretary with the company people because they can cause trouble. Other people don't know where to find them, and the people you see them, but they don't know where the danger is. The danger is with the company people, because they are the one who knows about someone, and they are the one who can point him out. You 5 should talk about what I mentioned. And like I say, without a snitch, they will never find someone, and the snitch is always someone close. Okay, so here the Pocha says that the lawyer had told him what the Licenciado had sent saying about Renee, that Renee had turned against him. Now let's see who Renee is. Renee was a plaza boss on behalf of Licenciado in Baja California Sur. His name is Rene Bastidas, better known as 00. I won't go into too much detail about Rene because there's an episode coming where we'll talk in more detail about him and what happened to him. But anyway, here I'll show you a picture of Rene. Well, since René turned against the Licenciado, the Pocha says to appoint a secretary with everyone in the organization because they're the ones the government can entangle, just like they did with Bravo. And the Pocha says that the outsiders in the organization don't know where everyone is because they only see them when they meet. And that's it. And those people don't know where the boss is going. Pocha says the real danger is from people close to them, the ones who work in the organization, because they know the targets, I mean the leaders, and they themselves can turn in the bosses, just like it happened to Pocha, who was turned in by Bravo. Well, the Pocha also tells the Licenciado that they should talk, that the five of them should talk, meaning the Licenciado, Ivan, Alfredo, Joaquin, and Ovidio, that they should discuss everything the Pocha tells them. Remember that without snitches, the government will never accomplish anything. And to get the snitch, there will always be close and trusted people, just like it happened to everyone. Pocha with his boss from Man Gun, Arturo Beltran with Barbie, the Licenciado with his secretary, and Yoma with his godson. But that's on another level, and it's happened to many. The letter. On the other hand, I'm really asking you to look into what Polito is seeing. We need to catch those people, and if the chickens people don't do anything, have them recommend other collectors because that chef and caballero kept a ton that belongs to the five of us. Kitchen, me, and the rest. I invested everything I sent to Canada from Enrique's brothers, and it was bought. With all that money, more than 3, and those couple of rascals took it all. All right, so here's the deal. Pocha says he's trusting the Licenciado with what Pollito is up to. As many of you already know, Pollito is a very important figure, leader of an organization based in Cali, Colombia. And Pollito was a partner of both the Licenciado and Pocha. Then Pocha had asked the Licenciado to request some support to help them catch some people. They had stolen merchandise down in South America, and Pocha says that if the people from Pollito couldn't do anything, then they should recommend other collectors over in Colombia to search for the thieves. Those recognized as Chef and Caballero were Colombians who worked with Pocha in Colombia and Ecuador and had merchandise there. And Pocha says here that they had a ton of blow and that it was specifically stolen by the Caballero, who was a cook from the Putumayo department in Colombia. And Pocha says that ton belongs to the 5. For those who don't know, that's how he referred to the group of 5, which were Pocha, Yoma, Mauricio Bastelum, Galdo, and Oscar Limon. Pocha also says that he was the one who invested all the money earned from a trip to Canada with some goods that Enrique's brothers had lent him. Well, Enrique, for those who don't know him, is Cesar Gastelum Serrano, another super important and multi-millionaire figure. We're going to make a special episode for him later, but for now, I'm going to show you a photo of Enrique. Well, like I told you, Cesar Gastelum's brothers had lent Pocha some blow on credit, and Pocha had sent that merchandise to Canada. Pocha says that everything that came out of there, he reinvested in another shipment down in South America, riding the money, but anyway, the thing is that they had bought more than 3 tons, and Chef and Caballero had kept everything. The letter. Caballero. Panchito's secretary knows how to find him, and I had a face-off with Panchito, and he told me that his secretary knows him. I've already told Oscar that through Panchito's assistant we will talk to the secretary. Okay. Pocha says here that Panchito's secretary knew how to get in touch with the Caballero. The Caballero, as I told you, was someone who was between Colombia and Ecuador and had Pocha's merchandise. Panchito was the Colombian Hidalbrando Alexander Cifuentes Villa, who testified in Pocha's trial in New York and said he was the one who He was the left and right hand of the Pocha. Very proud of it, since he comes from a family where everyone is involved in the Ocran from the times of Pablo Escobar. Well, Pocha says he had a face-off with Panchito at the courts, and Panchito told him that his secretary knew Caballero. With that information, Pocha told his lawyer, Oscar Manuel, to reach out to Panchito's secretary through Panchito's lawyer because she was handling the shady stuff. And here I show you the picture of Panchito. Well, friends, here ends the first part of this story. Stay tuned for next week to know the second part of the story. Thanks everyone for your support and look forward to more content from your friend Okran. Greetings.